Okay, we are live. Only 5 minutes or 4 minutes late, but it's okay. It's a red day. I don't think anybody really cares.
Yeah, and we were here yesterday, so 2 days in a
Yeah,
row. It's kind of a big deal for us.
it's been a long time since I talked to you, man.
Yeah, usually we're like 1 month between each episode,
Yeah, it's now him's
and
daily.
yesterday we had so much to talk about, but today even more. I would say.
But this is the crazy part, man. It's like, how is there two acquisitions in a week before earnings, and then semaglutide comes off shortage? You're like, what the? Like, I don't have time to cover all this stuff. It is pretty crazy.
I mean, the acquisition is not really a big deal, I would say, but it's still nice.
Well, I didn't even read up anything around the acquisition yet, because I was too like I had a meeting right now, and then before that I woke up and it was like the semaglutide news sort of overtook the
Yeah,
entire.
I was reading the acquisition news, and then it started to crash by like 15-20%, and I was like, oh, it's impossible, it's not about the acquisition. I mean, this is like totally irrelevant. Then
Mhm.
I went to see what people were talking about, and it was because of the FDA shortage, and I was like, okay, let's put the acquisition in standby and check the shortage status, because
Yeah, dude.
initially
Like,
no one, like everyone was assuming that the this correction was because of the acquisition, and everyone was like, why the hell is this happening? Because a few days
yeah,
ago they announced an acquisition and it was up like 20%, so why the hell is this happening? But then we realized it was because of the shortage, and this is actually a very small drop based on what everyone was expecting. I would say.
I mean, it fell as much as like 23%. I wouldn't say it's small,
Yeah, but
but
it's like last week it was at these prices.
I
it's,
guess, but still, like, there's people who bought yesterday, dude. You know, like those
yeah,
people
yeah,
bought
I know.
the wrong day. Um,
I mean, when you buy a stock at 90 RSI and like totally overbought, I know that
well,
for the long term it could work as well, and we're bullish, of course. But I mean, entering yesterday would be crazy, I would say.
yeah, 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 yeah. But I mean, for the stock to go up, there has to be buyers. So there was people buying yesterday, um, and there's people buying up this dip. Like, the thing moves in such crazy volatile swings. Like, I got a text this morning, and that's when I woke up to. My buddy texted me. He's like, "Hey, did you see?" Him says crazy pre-market action. I think it's because of the acquisition. Was the text message I got, and I was like, the acquisition was like 2 days ago, man. Like, or yesterday. I was like, this is not, uh, you know. And then I look, and then it's a semaglutide shortage, and I was like, oh fuck! Like, I thought that was going to be much later. Um, and then I
Yeah,
turns out there was
yesterday I was
another
like,
acquisition.
yesterday I was saying, oh, we don't know it. Maybe it could last until April or something like that, and then like the day after. But I mean, it's here we can think that it's good for the 2026 growth rate not to be that impacted,
Mm,
because the less GLP-1's revenue we have this year, the less um, the less impact on the growth rate of the next year we will have. Because if we had a full year or 3 quarters or 2 full quarters of GLP-1s and zero in 2026, maybe we could even get like a flat revenue, which would totally hurts the company's multiples, I would say.
right.
Have you seen like the FDA's decision of not taking action against compounders?
I'm literally just seeing it right now.
Yeah, that's why it spiked a bit to 56, 57, but it's not 51. What I thought it was still rebounding. But yeah, it spiked like 6% in a minute because of that.
Sorry, I'm just posting this up. Okay, I don't even know where we where we start, man. Like, maybe let's start chronologically and then work our way backwards. So maybe let's cover this small acquisition first. Let's get that out of the way, and then we can focus the majority of the time on this this decision. And yes, we will eventually get to this question towards the end. But if you guys have questions, then let us know in the chat, and I'll just bookmark them so that we can answer them towards the end. You want to walk us through this acquisition, Manuel? And I can throw up.
Yeah, I can. I mean, we don't have much information even in the press release. We just they say that the acquisition will strengthen the long-term durability of the company's domestic supply chain, helping to ensure Americans can consistently access personalized medications. So essentially, it's just a small acquisition to strengthen the company's supply chain infrastructure, I would say, and to help towards the goal of verticalizing everything. And I mean, they say it aligns with the past acquisitions of the 503A and 503B facilities. So, I mean, we don't have really that much information in the press release, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, if you read it, it's just like one paragraph and this sentence that I just read, and then some quotes from Melissa Baird, like the chief operating officer. Not really much more information. Which brings me to what I said like yesterday. Why are they announcing these two acquisitions like in this week and not next week? Maybe this one is because they knew that Semaglutide was coming off shortage, so they probably wanted to have a good news on the same day. But I mean, last quarter they announced the 503B acquisition at the same time as earnings, so it's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just going off of this comment, and we can jump to the semaglutide news like right after, but I found it really interesting how this happened like 2 days before earnings. Anyways, like I can put on my tinfoil hat later and talk about it, but yeah, I mean, I don't think this is like going to be a huge deal. It's something that's going to be helpful to strengthening their value proposition. But the acquisition that we had earlier this week, I think, was more of a big deal to the value prop.
Yeah, definitely.
And just the moat in general. I mean, maybe they saw the response of the last acquisition and this thing jumped up like 25%, and they're like, hey, we want another 25%.
Yeah, yeah, probably.
Okay, so now this acquisition came out pretty much like 5 minutes before the semaglutide, like almost exactly the same time as the semaglutide shortage news came out.
Pretty good timing.
Well, pretty good or pretty bad timing. I don't know. It depends on how you see it, I guess. Let me throw up the news. Also, I love how like when Hims is up, we get about like 60 to 70 people watching this pod. And now when Hims is down, we have 200 people here. They're like, what do we do? Okay. So
and I quoted your post to help it. I knew that with Hims crashing, everyone would want to come.
Okay. So basically, the FDA announced the semaglutide shortage is resolved. Hims was down 15% in pre-market. It's currently down 22% as of this live stream. So data shortage from 2022 to 2025, status resolved. This is on the FDA website. So there's like no chance of this being fake or misinterpreted or anything like that. Like it is fully resolved, over with. I think there's obviously the bad news that it affects Hims' business negatively in terms of the GLP-1 thesis. And then there's the silver lining, which is that this has been like something hanging over Hims for quite a while. I mean, we've been talking about it pretty much every single live stream that we've done on Hims ever since like I bought into the stock in August. Like this was a big thing, because in 2024, with semaglutide being one of the major value propositions for the business, obviously when it comes off shortage, like people are going to freak out, which I understand why it's down 22% today. But at the same time, like, okay, it's over. Um, so
Yeah,
whatever we go from now on, like you don't have that uncertainty anymore, and that's like a very, very, very thin silver lining to this news.
yeah, I agree with everything, but I'm not sure if we're like if we're done yet, because we're probably going to see compounders taking action like they did with like after tirzepatide's shortage news, like they
Mm,
sued the FDA and like try to delay a bit the process, which is still delayed. I mean, we ended up having semaglutide coming officially off shortage before tirzepatide because of all the delays on courts and all that. So I'm not saying that I expect it like 100% to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happens again. And if that happens, the GLP-1 headlines will come again, just like it happened with tirzepatide. So I'm not sure if we're done yet, but I agree that like sooner or later we would have to break these ties with. I mean, hopefully now the algos will turn off the GLP-1 settings, and like we're not going to move by crazy amounts every time there's something about this. But I'm really not sure if we're done yet, and especially with the earnings report coming on Monday. I
mhm.
mean, they will ask about this on the earnings call, and I'm pretty sure Andrew will continue to say that they will personalize dosages and all that, which will probably like be bad for the markets because it's exactly what happened in the second quarter. Like, uh, the stock was really performing very well. Then he said that he believed Hims would continue to sell GLP-1s after the shortage, and then the market got like a fear that they were buying a war with Novo Nordisk or Eli Lilly or something like that,
Mhm.
and that fear made the stock drop like considerably over the 2 or 3 weeks following that. So
Right.
I'm a bit afraid that it could happen again. But I mean, it can also be the case that Andrew says, okay, yeah, we're stopping to sell semaglutide. We've analyzed everything and it's not legal. So we're going to like push these clients to liraglutide or to the oral solution in the 60 to 90 days that compounders are allowed to have post shortage to stabilize the supply chain and everything else. So I'm really not sure if this subject is done yet.
Yep.
Probably not, but it could very well be the case. I mean, I think we'll know about it during the earnings call and like according to Andrew.
Well, so that's going to be the main thing that people are now all of a sudden looking at. And if all of the questions were not already going to be about GLP-1s, they definitely are going to be about
Yeah.
GLP-1s now. The next things that I'm looking towards, I mean, you called out one of them, which is compounders to the FDA, same as they did with tirzepatide. And on the earnings call, we get a timeline of what it's actually going to we get a timeline of what the actual end of semaglutide will be after the buffer period for compounders. Um, I expect them on the earnings call to also announce liraglutide, and I expect, if not earlier, honestly, I could see them announcing it even today. And I expect them on the earnings call to adjust their guidance for the full year 2025 to account for the fact that, okay, well, here's a world where we now will not have semaglutide, and that's going to be earlier than we had initially thought, which is, I mean, not bullish news.
I mean, they never issue the guidance for 2025, so they don't need to adjust anything. They'll issue
I know,
for the
but
first time.
internally they had a guidance number, and what they
Yeah,
come out publicly with is going
internally,
to
but we don't know about it.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, it puts a damper on some of the expectations that people have for earnings because, as we know, if they put out a low guidance number, the stock would probably tank. Um, but
I
now
bet,
I'm like expecting a low guidance number.
yeah, I bet that they're going to issue a guidance basically saying from like GLP-1s are only included in the first quarter, which is essentially almost done. I mean, almost done, yeah, but they will have the 60 to 90 days. So they will have the full quarter with GLP-1s. And I bet they're going to say, oh, this guidance, this full year guidance, the 3 quarters after the first one are not accounting for GLP-1s.
Hmm.
So because usually they, not usually, but sometimes they do it like, oh, this guidance does not include GLP-1s. When they last year, when they gave, like, they released GLP-1s in May, I believe. So
Hmm.
it started to be on their accounts like in the third quarter. And when they gave guidance, they gave it without GLP-1s. So maybe they'll follow the same approach and say, oh yeah, we have data about the first quarter, so here we won't, because I mean they're issuing guidance of the first quarter, and more than half of the quarter has already passed, so they have a clear view on the numbers. And they'll
Yep.
probably say, oh, because of the uncertainty, this guidance does not include anything regarding GLP-1s or semaglutide, but GLP-1s, because if they're introducing liraglutide now, they have no color on the how the customers will react and all that. So yeah, that's probably what I would bet on
Well,
regarding
I mean,
guidance.
yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. I think that like they now have a work back schedule. So let me put this up on the screen so people know what we're talking about. Um, present. So this is essentially the work back schedule that the FDA highlighted. 503As can compound for 60 days. 503Bs can compound for 90 days. Um, Basically saying that the FDA is not going to take action against compounders after the shortage ends, which is like today, and that there is a ramp off time for compounders to continue making these GLP-1s. So
So HIMS has 90 days.
pretty much, yeah, HIMS is 3 months. Uh, Starting today, which is already halfway through Q1. So
And
they're
more
probably
than half of the second quarter as well.
yeah. So I think that's enough time for them to be able to ramp up people on liraglutide. And then I don't know from the typical consumer whether they would understand the difference or even care about the difference between semaglutide and liraglutide.
Yeah, but I mean, they have to say that liraglutide is much less effective. I mean, they really have to say, because it's compared to semaglutide and tirzepatide, it's really, really much less effective. But I mean, it will also be cheaper, most likely. I mean, so there's kind of a trade-off. So I'm not really sure how customers will react. I understand that many of them might just stop using it, but still, I mean, every compounder will like stop with this, so they can't really go to a different cheap solution. They would have to go to the original brand, which is very expensive. So there might be a good conversion to liraglutide and to the oral solution, because I mean, customers that can't afford the original brands really have no option, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's also this the fact that it's like a worse user experience from the customer's point of view.
Yeah.
The
I didn't
frequency
know that
of
about
dosage.
that, to be honest.
Um, so you're going to have a product that's less effective, that is also a worse user experience. Essentially, they're going to still retain some of their customers. It's not going to be a number that's zero. They're not going to lose everybody, but it's also not going to be nearly um, as beneficial if they could just compound semaglutide.
Yeah, but I mean, if they try to push the oral solution, it could be even better, because as we talked about it, I mean, if I was a potential customer, I would prefer to take a pill and to try to go to the root of the problem rather than like injecting myself every week. But I mean, I understand. And as HIMS in the weight loss paper that they issued, they had like the numbers comparing the results from GLP-1s and the oral solution, and the oral solution wasn't even that bad compared
Yeah,
to like the weight loss during, I don't remember the time period, but it was really like amazing to see how close they were. And so I believe, at least if I was a customer, I would first try to switch for the oral solution rather than going to liraglutide. But that's me, because I have some kind of knowledge around everything because of IMS, obviously. But
Right.
a regular customer, I'm not sure if he will have like the tendency to like keep like remain on the GLP-1s just because he had a good experience in terms of weight loss, and
Mhm.
maybe they are like, oh, I'm not really sure if those pills will work with me. Maybe I'll stick with the GLP-1s. You feel me? Like, I'm not really
Yeah.
sure, but if it was me, I would try to go for the oral solution first.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I mean, to see how the company responds to this, um, and what their marketing plan is going to be to try to retain as many of those users as possible. Obviously, this is not good news for Hims, but we knew that this was coming at some point or another. I think the thing that we're surprised by is how quickly it got here, because we were expecting, like, I mean, yesterday we said Q2, Q3.
Yeah, but 2 or 3 months ago we said February.
Yes, of
So
course.
when
Exactly.
we look at it, we were like kind of more ambitious because of like because of Trump and Robert Kennedy and like the FDA moving slow right now. But in reality, we were expecting this to happen in the first quarter when we were like doing episodes in December and in November and all that. Because I think Tears Appetite went off shortage like in late November, right? Like the first news that made it crash like by 20 or 25%, I think was late November. So if we compare that to Semaglutide, it's still like 1/4 of difference. And we talked about this, like we said, it could be very likely to happen in February. But I mean, we got a bit more ambitious as the time was
Yeah.
going and news were flowing.
As the
So
stock price went up, you mean?
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's
So
true. I mean, it's the human psychology.
is there, and I'm just trying to think outside the box here, because the FDA basically gave them a 90-day window to ramp off. Is there a world where they can compound well in excess of their normal capacity so as to stockpile, and then
No, 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 no,
they can't
no.
keep selling until
These
like,
these 90 days are exactly because of the GLP-1s that they might have already compounded. Let's say essentially, it's like to
yeah,
rid
but
off all the inventory and all that. The
it's
question
not
here
90
is that
days. It's not 90 days to sell all their inventory. It's 90 days to keep compounding for 90 days.
is it like, because I'm not sure if they
Oh,
can,
well, let
because I
me.
mean they can compound it, but I'm not sure if they can sell it afterwards. So it wouldn't make sense for them to do it and just like r- keep the inventory for themselves.
So hold on. So here.
And the thing is,
So for outsourcing facilities under 503B of the FD&C Act, compounding, distributing or dispensing semaglutide injection products that are
exactly.
essentially a copy of blah 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 within 90 days, so until May 22nd. So that's compounding and selling them.
And I mean, my question here is, they have a lot of free cash flow that they got from customers with a 12 months subscription. So here, and they recognize the revenue as they deliver each package.
Hmm.
So is it possible that they like, imagine you're a customer and you subscribe for 12 months, but you're still like just 3 or 4 months in, and you still need like 9 months and you already paid for all of them. Imagine, could they like deliver everything before May 22, or would they have to like reimburse part of that, of those 12 months paid? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
They would probably
what?
offer them some type of discount to move over to the oral solutions or liraglutide or something like that, and then probably uh, reimburse.
But do you think it would be possible like to deliver everything before May 22nd? Like, imagine, okay, we're going to send you like the 12 months. Make sure you put the GLP-1s on the fridge for
Yeah.
them not to like um be like get bad. But
I don't think they would be able
yeah,
to
probably not possible, right?
give them a whole year's supply and be like, "Oh, good luck with it. Don't mess it up." You know, but
That would be crazy because that way they would have like $1 billion in revenue in second quarter because they would recognize everything like in the because they have a lot of free cash flow, as I said yesterday, from deferred revenue, and that revenue is like recognized as they deliver the GLP-1s. So each quarter there's revenue being recognized from prior quarters sales. You understand? So this could be like maybe not like the full year as I was saying, but they might try to like deliver like 3 months in a like at a time. Do you understand? Like not really just one dosage each, not one dosage because it's once a week, I guess, but like just 1 month of supply like at time. But I'm not sure if they can legally do that.
Sorry, I'm just making a post. Yeah, I think we just need to, at this point, hear from management. Maybe they might not drop anything today and wait for earnings because, like, it's so close. It's around the corner. And they might take the, 3 days or so to regroup and come up with an actual plan. But in my mind, the thing that we're really looking for is we're looking for clarity around how management plans to retain their existing GLP-1 customer base and how they plan to move forward to continue that business line, which they've talked about in previous earnings. It just makes it real now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm even more looking forward to hearing the earnings call. Right now, I really want to see Andrew's tone and like how he's approaching this.
They sent a 6-month supply. What this
Really?
means. I'm assuming it means he is a subscriber and they just give 6-month batches, which might, I guess, be a little bit better for existing users.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Like maybe 3 or 6 months. 6 months, it sounds like a lot, but I mean, if they can do it, maybe they'll try to like rush and like for the next 90 days just being like non-stop delivering GLP-1s.
Yeah. I want to address this comment. I feel like the HIMS thesis is a little cloudy for me now. I don't own any, but I was considering it on the dip, but it's outside my wheelhouse. And with news like this, I can't cast a guess on what this does, if anything, to the business in the future. Okay. So this is negative on the business in the future because it's essentially their entire weight loss. Well, the majority of their weight loss business, the injectable weight loss business, that is essentially gone, and now they have to replace because of the shortage ending. But HIMS has all of these other business lines that consist of the majority of their growth rates that are outside of weight loss altogether, number one. And number two, we knew this was going to happen this year. Like we were talking about it months earlier, because the moment that tirzepatide came off shortage and, the compounder sued the FDA back in December, like the next one to go was semaglutide. And so it's not an unknown thing. It's something that management has been studying and tracking for the whole of 2024, because this was always going to be a temporary solution. The fact of the matter is that a lot of the gains that HIMS has had over the past year, let's say, or a lot of the attention that they've had has been as a result of people associating them as a weight loss provider. And yes, they are that, but at the same time, they are so much more than that. And that's the reason why their business is growing.
Yeah, I mean, and even you said it's most of their weight loss business, and yeah, it's probably already most of it, but the oral weight loss solution, and I'm saying it again, was the first specialty ever to reach $100 million annual revenue run rate. And it took it like 7 months, I believe, or
Yep.
maybe not that much. So Hims, as you said, is not a weight loss company. It provides weight loss solutions, but it's much more than that. And
Hmm.
also, even the weight loss category, like broader speaking, is not dependent on the injectable solution. And even the injectable solutions, we still have liraglutide. So uh yeah, Hims is now like won't be able to sell semaglutide most likely, but it's just like a part of the business. Yeah, it's what got Hims to this kind of hype, I understand. But I mean, at some point this was going to happen. Everyone knew about it. If you didn't know about this, you shouldn't be investing in Hims, because it's, yeah, I mean, it's obvious that you didn't do your homework. You were
Yeah.
investing based on someone else's opinion or something like that, because
Yeah.
this is something that every investor knew about, like, for a long time. This was a not topic like during months and months. Now, because of the huge increase in the stock price, no one was really talking about it anymore, but it was still like expected to happen. Like, we yesterday we were talking about this, even though we were pointing to a different months, let's say. It was still very much expected by everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing I'd say is that, I just want to get your thoughts on this. I find it very interesting, and I want to come back to the timing, whether you think there is something there, like conspiracy theory time. But the timing of the Super Bowl ad, I think, kind of sucks now because the Super Bowl ad focused on the weight loss, and that was on February 9th. So that was literally like, 12 days ago. And then immediately after semaglutide comes off shortage.
Yeah, but I mean, now if they go to him's website, they will still see weight loss offerings. So now they're even more likely to go for the oral solution, which increases like the probability of them becoming uh like stickier to hymns, because of how long, like, they can sell the oral solution
Hmm.
indefinite, like that, without time constraints or whatever. So, and actually it was probably because of Super Bowl that we got this huge stock price increase. And now, because of that, after this huge drop, we're at $50 per share, which like 2 weeks ago was like higher than the all-time high. So I think it was a very good timing to act like as a suppressor in terms of stock price
Hmm.
to this GLP-1 news. I understand that in terms of business itself, it's not perfect because of what you said, but
Yeah.
they didn't even like specify in the ad that they were pushing towards GLP-1 solutions. So if you go to their website, you will still see like the oral solution, and even the GLP-1s. I mean, we still have 3 months. So with those 12 days, I mean in April or in May or in June, no one will be talking about Super Bowl anymore, I
Yeah.
would say. So I don't think that'll be that bad, and I think it was very good to act as a support for the stock price, because I would never guess that after the semaglutide shortage is over, we're at $54 per share. This is
Yeah.
insane. I mean, if you told me that like 2 months ago, I would call you crazy, because everyone was pointing to like, oh, after the shortage ends, this thing is going to like $15 per share or $20 per share. And I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it
Well,
was
back then
kind
it
of
was 30.
exactly. It was kind of plausible. I mean, you would never guess that Hims was going to go up like 150 or 200% in a month or 2 months in
Yeah. Yeah.
2025. So I,
But it
at
was
the same
always,
time, I think it was perfect, the timing of Super Bowl.
I mean, I think you're approaching it from a very, very logical aspect, and I understand that. I mean, I think Hims was definitely manipulated from shorts. It was definitely undervalued, where it was in the 20s and low 30s. And keep in mind, man, like the drop, I don't think it's crazy, relative to like the Amazon news, for example, we had just as big of a drop for relatively much less. But at the same time, like from 72 in pre-market to 49 5 minutes after open, like that is not a small drop. Um, Great, it's recovering, and I think it's going to continue to recover
It wasn't
because,
at
like,
72.
in pre-market, yeah.
No, in pre-market it was like 67, 68. But still, yeah.
It was 72 and a half.
Oh, maybe after the acquisition?
Yes.
Ah, okay. It was those 5 minutes before, right? Oh,
So
I didn't know about it.
I'm just going peak to trough, right? Of that
Yeah.
move. So my point is that like, and I want to bring up Merv's comment here, right? Is this over or is this by the dip? Look, what I did was in the morning, as soon as I woke up, I wrote $50 cash secured puts because I want to buy the dip. I want to be owning HIMS more. And the reason is because I knew this was coming for like the past, 3 months, 5 months, whatever. I knew this was a risk ever since I bought the stock for the first time ever. But now this is behind us. There's no more uncertainty around it. I want to see how management actually handles the situation. And don't get me wrong, like I wish it was, I wish we got this news in July because that would mean, another several months of actually HIMS making money off of GLP-1s. And so I don't love the fact that we got this news so early, but it does provide some clarity. It provides a lack of uncertainty. Like it clears up a big cloud that was hanging over the stock. And so I bought for that reason. If it continues to fall, then I'll be assigned those shares. And if it doesn't continue to fall, then I'll make like $6, worth of premium. I think that management needs to step in front of it and they need to have a clear plan of how they're going to be tackling this going forward and what they're expecting from churn perspective, what they're expecting to lose in terms of existing members, how they're expecting to gain more members. If liraglutide, like how are they going to make that value proposition just as compelling as semaglutide? Because all of a sudden you'll have like Novo and Eli Lilly be like, hey, these are more effective drugs that we're offering. Don't go to HIMS. So like, what is the value proposition for HIMS if now they can offer liraglutide, which is less potent and a worse user experience?
I mean, it's also much cheaper. And here I think it's kind of a big deal because it's real. I mean, liraglutide will probably be as cheap as like I would say even like $60 per month or something like that, or 70 or 80 or whatever. And when you compare that with the brands, with the original brands like $1,000 a month, it's really a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I literally just answered this. So rewind 10 minutes. I don't think it's a final nail in the coffin at all. Like at
yeah,
all.
I think we might see, like as I was saying, I think the reaction, if this continues to drop or if this rebounds, I think it will largely depend on the earnings call. And
Yes.
if Andrew says that he plans to continue selling GLP-1s after the shortage, I think we're going lower, probably. Even if this is good news, I mean, I'm not saying it's bad or good because I don't understand well enough the dynamics in terms of laws and like if it's legal or not. I'm not going to say that I'm an expert here because I'm not. But if he plans to do it, the market will fear like a war with Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, and even with the FDA, which is not good. And it's exactly what happened last quarters. And I'm not saying that this affects the thesis, but it's what I believe the market will perceive.
Yes.
But if he is just like accepts it and says, okay, yeah, we're moving to liraglutide or we're moving to push these clients to the oral solution, for like on one hand, you can say, oh, they're giving up on GLP-1s. But on the other hand, you can say they're being prudent and they're doing what everyone thinks is the right way to act, like in legal terms. Because having a litigation risk this high is what I believe makes a lot of people want to be far away from the stock.
Yeah, it adds more uncertainty, right? Because
Exactly.
you're
The market
essentially
hates uncertainty. So
exactly. You're picking a fight with big pharma at that point, and I don't think that's going to be a good look for anybody. Yeah. So what needs to happen for the stock to go up on the earnings call? Any comments on the earnings call? Look, I think that management is absolutely, and by the way, we're covering the earnings call live at 4 p.m. on Monday. I hope Manuel can make it, but
Yeah, we
we're going to be talking, especially now. We're definitely covering it live now. Um, I think management needs to get ahead of it. I think management needs to provide clear guidance. What is the expected churn of these existing semaglutide users? Because yes, I understand that. Where was it? People who cannot afford semaglutide have no choice but to choose liraglutide or oral solutions. Absolutely, but that was already the case yesterday, right? The unknown right now in my mind is what is the cannibalization of the existing semaglutide customer base in HIMSS right now? Because if they come out on Monday and they say we're confident that we can convert 80% of our existing semaglutide customers over to oral or liraglutide, then that's very positive. If they say, hey, we think we can retain like 40% of them or whatever, then it's a different story, right? So I'm thinking of the existing cohort of people who do semaglutide right now. That won't be available in 90 days. How is management responding? And what does that look like from a financial lens point of view? Are they going to announce liraglutide on Monday? They should. They should announce it today, I think. Are they going to adjust their guidance downward as a result of this? They're probably talking about it right now internally. Like as we're on this podcast, they're probably talking about like, hey, what does the forecast look like? Because now they have an end date of May 22nd, and all of a sudden that business line is not going to exist after May
probably
22nd,
changing the guidance right now.
like literally right now.
Yeah,
So this is what
but I don't
management.
think they'll say anything about the expectations regarding retaining customers. I mean, they don't even talk specifically about retention rate, like ever about everything else
Well,
because of the
they're going to
churn
say it.
associated.
They might not say it directly, Manuel, but they're going to say it indirectly. Like, what does this affect your growth rate?
Yeah, but I mean, they're always pretty ambiguous when they talk about these kind of uncertain events. That's why I think they want to issue a guidance which does not include GLP-1s. But now they kind of have, if they'll plan to just sell until the 22nd of May,
Yeah.
then they might issue the guidance and like the full guidance, including GLP-1s. They can say, oh, um, according to the deadline of the 22nd of May, here is our guidance. But like that depends on whether they plan to keep selling them post shortage or not, and that's why I think that will be the main point for the price action of the following week.
Yeah.
And yesterday we were saying that the main point would be like the first quarter guidance or the full year guidance, and now I'm really leaning more towards this objective like approach from Andrew and like what Hims plans to do.
Yeah, like I do think that if the numbers were going to be like 50-50, or sorry, if the stock reaction was going to be like 50-50, then I think right now it's leaning me more to think that we could have a more negative stock reaction, because that guidance, like I know they're going to double beat. Those numbers are already in. They're locked in for Q1. Okay. So for Q1, like I'm highly confident that they're going to double beat because those sales have already been made, right? The people who were, purchasing semaglutide in December, they've already purchased it. The money has already come in. So there's no implication there. The implication is only for forward-looking statements like guidance for 2025 full year. And that, if that's lower, then I think the market tanks this even more. And also because even leading into the earnings on Monday, I think a lot of people who want to sell out now are going to do so. And the reason why is because now you have another layer of uncertainty of the prospect of this business going forward past Monday. So this is where I would say management needs to very clearly provide insight, and they very clearly need to provide like, hey, what is the implications of this look like for the business in 2025, and put a lot of the market's mind at ease.
Yeah, I agree, man. To be honest, with essentially everything you said, but I'm really not sure what to expect based on last 2 quarters earnings calls and like how Andrew took these. Like Andrew was always like really, really decided to go after the GLP-1 opportunity even after the shortage.
Hmm.
But I mean, a few months later, maybe he like understood better the dynamics of everything legally again. But I mean, he really looked very, very decided to 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 go after that. And I don't even know what to like cheer for, because if he proves like that he IMS can really sell legally after the shortage ends, that would be like the best catalyst ever for the company.
The business,
But
yeah.
I mean, the probability, I'm not so sure if it's like that much, because otherwise,
Well,
like everyone, the GLP-1 opportunity is just so large that if there was that possibility of like not infringing the patents and even and like selling GLP-1s anyways, there would be a lot of companies investing like in infrastructure to be able to do it. For instance, Amazon Pharmacy would do it because IMS spent like $30 million in a 503B compounding pharmacy, supposedly to help in personalizing dosages of GLP-1s. So why can't even like smaller players, like for instance, we've talked about LifeMD, which is like a smaller telehealth player.
they're also
And
down like 20 something percent
yeah,
today.
because they also sell compounded versions, but they said that they don't plan to sell
Yeah.
after the shortage, like not as Andrew said. So I mean, yes, they're not as large as HIMS, but they could buy a compounding pharmacy like for $30 million, even if they just had to issue like a stock offering or something like that. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
that hard, and I think they even have cash to do it. So I think
Mhm.
if the probability was like somewhat close to a good one, there would be like many other companies considering doing it. But IMS was literally the only one that's because I remember I've read like a Financial Times article in
Mhm.
December, I think, or something like that, or November. And a lot of CEOs from telehealth companies were like, no, we're not planning to sell GLP-1s after the shortage. We don't want to buy a war with anyone. We're just trying to take advantage of the opportunity right now. And like, we'll know in the future what happens and all that. So that's why I really don't know what I want to happen, but probably to like just get rid of all the cloud, as you were saying, that surrounds HIMS as a stock, and all the traders that are here because of GLP-1s and because of the huge increase and decreases of the stock price. I think it would be better just to let it go and try to push the customers to liraglutide and to or the oral solution. And even because of the, as I said, and this was like the bear case that Bank of America had. If they sell GLP-1s for like longer than May 22nd, imagine like the third quarter as well, then they have to stop because they just couldn't do it just legally. Maybe they can, if they try to do it, maybe they can delay it for a few months, but maybe inevitably they will have to stop. And if the longer they can do it, the worse will be for the growth rate of next year, and that will be like crucial for the multiple at which HIMS will be trading next year. Of course it would be good for 2025, but I think it wouldn't be good for 2026.
Yeah, and like I do want to present two paths for people watching because I know that some people watching may have just bought the stock at 45 thinking it's going to go to 100 as a trade, and then other people are like long-term investors in this business who actually know all of the independent business lines that they do. And so I want to make sure that I can appeal to both of those people when responding because I think that what is good for the fundamental business for management to say might not be good for the short-term stock price and reverse as well. Because what's good for the short-term stock price is if we get news on liraglutide today, if we get news on compounders immediately suing the FDA, if we get news on like the FDA updating their decision and pushing it out further, like all of this stuff is good for the stock price. But for the business, we know that this business line is going to end. It's just a matter of when it ends. And right now we have a hard date of May 22nd. And really what we need for the business is we need management to actually have a clear plan, a clear strategy of like how they want to approach this. So to answer this question, are we thinking 50-50 on the price action post earnings short term? I think that it's going to really depend on number one, guidance, and number two, the actual earnings call itself and the questions that are asked from these analysts around GLP-1 specifically and this catalyst. I think the majority of those questions are going to be GLP-1 related. I don't think, we're going to get a lot of like testosterone or menopause, all these questions.
So boring.
Well, I mean, in comparison to this, I guess it is. So, yeah, I'm like, I do think that it falling 20% on possibly the biggest negative catalyst, the biggest cloud it had hanging over the stock, I think like I will take that any day. Whether it's at $30 or it falls down to, $24, or whether at 70 and it falls down to 54, like I will take that any day of the week because it's the biggest dark cloud hanging over this business in 2025. We knew it was happening. It was just a matter of when it was happening. And it happened today. I bought the dip. I'm bullish going forward because there's so many other business lines. Like think about 2025 in isolation. If they roll out liraglutide, probably within the next 7 days, if they roll out the menopause solution, the testosterone solution, and the ramp rate to those, like the oral weight loss solution was the fastest business to 100 million run rate. I guarantee you that testosterone or menopause, like as a new business line, will be just as fast, if not faster, because they have a like rhythm.
They're
going
much
now.
larger now. Yeah.
So, I do think that the business has positive prospects. I was never buying it strictly for the GLP-1, use case. Of course, it's a short-term positive, and now we're seeing the results of it. But I think there's still a lot of growth left for this business. There's like 11 plus product lines that are still on the roadmap but haven't been released yet.
Yeah, and the introduction of those new verticals will help in what I was saying regarding the growth rate of 2026, because exactly as I said like a few episodes ago, like the fact that they're not rushing like menopause treatments or hormonal therapy or all those other verticals will allow the company to offset the decrease in GLP-1 revenues with new verticals. And that will be, and I think it's kind of a good management to do. Like, even though, some people might argue, they should release new verticals as fast as they can to increase the business as fast as they can. But there's one thing very important that IMS has always had throughout its history as a publicly listed company, which is they are incredibly good at managing investors' expectations.
Yes.
And that's why they never miss guidance. They never had a quarter where they don't raise their own guidance. And that's exactly why they have such a proven track record of execution. Because, I mean, they have a huge and an insane revenue growth chart. You just need to look at it. They never had a quarter with the revenue not being up. But I mean, that could be the case, and still you could be mad at them because they were expecting even more. And that's not the case. They're always very, very not, I wouldn't even say conservative, but I would say that they really care about managing expectations. And that's a really important part of being a publicly listed company. I mean, it's not something that dictates your long-term success, but it's really something that makes investors more comfortable, especially investors like us, like retail investors, because it's really comforting to know that we have a management team that just doesn't give false like promises that won't happen, let's say. And that's something that HIMS has always been brilliant about.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, guys, we talked about this yesterday when we talked about the valuation of the business and where we think they're going to be long term. I don't think this narrative changes that, because if GLP-1s went away 3 months from now versus today, or 6 months from now versus today, over the next 5 years, that impact is going to be so insignificant, like financially speaking, that it won't really matter to the long term bull thesis. Because ultimately, if you're buying at $54 a share, you're buying this business at a $12 billion market cap, and they're doing 1.5 billion in almost 1.5 billion in revenue for this year, probably guiding for 2.3 to 2.5 next year, growing like 90% year over year. You're on mute.
I was sorry, I was correcting you. Like 2.3 billion this year, not next year.
Yeah, sorry, I'm still in 2024 mentally.
Yeah, exactly. Because that way it didn't look that good. It was like 10 times price sales.
The
But
point
yeah,
being is this business is very, very, primed for growth. Um, so, I think you're still, if you're looking at it from a long term perspective, I think this dip is going to be short lived. I don't think we're going to see, especially now that we had the reaction from it. Like, I don't think we're going to see the 30s or the 20s again unless something like major happens. Like, if you get into a litigation war and they get sued and all this like other shit
exactly.
happens, then of course you might see it. But for the fact that the biggest dark cloud for the business is now over and we are at $54, and then you still have all of these other positives from a long term perspective, I think that bodes really, really well for long term investors. And it sucks if you're making a short term trade and you get caught. I've been there. I understand. But at the same time, if you are a long term investor, I don't think this is like a horrible place to even buy, because now you have this negative news.
Yeah, to be honest, I would probably not buy here because of the uncertainty about the earnings call.
Yeah,
But I agree with everything you said. Like,
don't
and
buy
and
one day
actually,
before earnings.
but with this correction, it's actually very good for the chart. I mean, it's good that it's breathing a bit, and it's perfect that it's this news happens when it was really overbought, because it would correct inevitably with or without this news. So
Yeah,
it's perfect that it's happening at the same time. So all in all, I agree with you. Like, short term, it's kind of uncertain, but long term, the company still has a lot of growth levers to push. Like, it's really, really just the beginning. The only question I have is about what I said yesterday about the regulatory issues and all that they might face over the long term. But that's really something not to 2025, and not to, I would say, even to 2026. And I mean, now all the market cares about is GLP-1s and new verticals and all that. So I, as you said, I only think these might go to 30s if we have a litigation war, which I'm really not sure will happen.
hmm
And yeah, I mean, probably it's now what, like, close to fair value. I mean, bits. It will always depend on the growth rates, because we never know. I mean,
yeah. I
they
mean,
they when they went public, they got it for like $400 million in revenue 2 or 3 years afterwards, and they reported 800. So I mean, at the time you could say that it was very expensive, and based on those estimates, it was. But then in reality, it wasn't, because they just crushed the estimates. It's all about what they can achieve, and at this point, we can just try to guess, especially with all the uncertainty about GLP-1s and the release of new verticals and the conversion from GLP-1 customers to liraglutide to oral solution. I mean, it's really uncertain, but to me, what's certain is that the company will continue to grow,
yeah,
and not as a slow grower, even without GLP-1s. I think our assumption yesterday of 20 or 25% growth till 2030, till 2030 is still very much on track. And as we saw, it implied, like, the conservative estimates we had implied like uh, 3 times today's price, or 2.5 times. I don't remember,
for
which is
which.
still we made some assumptions yesterday
Mhm.
with 25% growth until 2030, I believe.
Yeah, the,
And,
the
and like
CAGR, yeah.
the 20% free cash flow margin, and 20 times free cash flow multiple,
Yeah, that
25
took us to
times.
140, I think, something like that.
Yeah, and it was still, and I mean, yesterday it didn't look that good, but now it's even better. I mean, 140, it's like the almost a triple, which
Right.
is kind of good after this huge run up. I mean, For me, it would be like a 20 bagger
Yeah,
from
I
my
mean,
cost
honestly, man,
basis.
like the market has a short-term memory when it comes to this stuff. And by tomorrow, all of the bad news over semaglutide is going to be priced in. Like we saw with regards to HIMS, the dip that we had on Amazon news from 30 to 19. We saw with regards to HIMS, the dip that we had on terzepatide shortage. That was a fairly, I think that was like 15% or so, even though it didn't even impact the business. And what happened in the following days was the market forgot, another news cycle came, and there was some more stuff, and the stock moved up eventually. And I think it's going to be the same for this as well. Like, of course, there's earnings on Monday that is another like uncertainty. And once they report numbers, if it goes up, if it goes down, like I think the long-term trajectory of this business throughout 2025 is going to be higher. Like, I don't think they're going to end the year at $52 a share or under. Like I think they're going to be higher than that because of all of the benefits that we highlighted from a fundamental business perspective. And yeah, I agree with this comment, right? The market is now forced to recognize HIMS as more than, a GLP-1 company, even though they offer weight loss products outside GLP-1s. But yeah, that bull case is essentially gone. You're on mute again.
Again. And I was saying that we were waiting for this for a long time. Like, yes, it's not good for the current numbers, but it's good for like the market to recognize HIMS as what it truly is, and not as just a pure GLP-1 play.
Yeah.
Because as I was saying I think not yesterday, but the episode before, like 1 year ago, I think it will be next week that marks like 1 year since like the fourth quarter release of 2023. No one even talked about GLP-1s. There were no GLP-1s on the equation. The crazy thing was the oral solution.
Yeah.
And now 1 year later, here we are. No one cares about the oral solution. It's insane. And I totally understand why, of course. But it's just interesting to see how things change so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, there's massive money in GLP-1s, right? Like, who
Course,
was it?
of course.
No, yeah, like the competitors are making HIM's entire market cap as revenue for 1 year. For like, I think it was Zepbound that had like 11 billion in revenue for the year, and that's like HIM's entire market cap right now. So like GLP-1s are very, very massive market share. But at the same time, like I think we're going to get to a place where it's much more normalized, and you're going to have more weight loss solutions. You're going to have something that, easier form factors. There's going to be innovation in that space because now you have less regulatory scrutiny. And it's going to, like, HIMS is going to be able to capture a part of that market, even though it's not like they're going to be playing with the big boys in terms of like tirzepatide and semaglutide. Like, they're still going to be able to capture a part of that market.
Yeah, absolutely. And Andrew said multiple times that he plans to expand the weight loss offerings across everything he can. Like, whether it's because he said there are like 15 drugs in development for like weight loss, like whether pills, whether injectables, whether whatever. You have like a lot of companies trying to push towards a better solution, or even not better, like their own solution, and that will open like a lot of opportunities.
Yeah. Okay. What else do we want to chat about? Is there anything else that we want to cover?
I think, whoa, 1 hour. I thought it was like still like 40 minutes or so.
No, we did a full HIMS Weekly podcast. For those of you who are new, we do this. We try to do it on a weekly basis, but
It's
sometimes 2 times a week, sometimes once a month.
yeah, it's not that different. But yeah, today was by far the most crowded episode, I would say.
65% of people in this chat said that they are buying this dip. 35% of people said they are not buying this
Yeah,
dip.
I was part of the 35. I
right?
just answered like 1 minute ago.
Well, I guess I'm part of the 65 then because, um, I mean, we have very different uh, price averages. For me, like I'm not really scared about just buying higher and higher and higher and averaging up. Even though, like, I understand that you can
Yeah,
have more short-term pain by doing that. Like, I don't think you care at all that this dip because
yeah.
your price
I'm not
basis is like
afraid of buying
$15.
more and averaging up because I've averaged it up in the past. It's just like it's already my largest position by far after, and I trimmed it. If I haven't trimmed it, it would be like 50% of my portfolio right now.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
trimmed it and it's still like 30. I mean, now with this drop, it's probably like 31%
yeah.
or 30%, which is still a lot. But I mean, I'm fine like that. Like yesterday, I was even considering in the overnight market at 68 to like trim a bit more because I
Hmm.
was like, there's always like bad news before the like the earnings week. We've
Hmm.
talked about it several times. There's always something coming to push the stock like down. But I was like, I really don't want to go below 1,000 shares because right now I have 1,000 shares, and my
Okay,
goal was to like keep them as they are, and like once it gets to $100, I have $100,000 position, which will
nice.
be nice. And I already like with the trims I made, I already profit like collected more profits than my initial investment. So essentially, I really have zero risk in this. But I mean, it's different to profit like 100K than it is to profit like 30K. So
Yeah, of
here
course.
it's I'm not the guy that oh I already sold like I already got my initial investment back. So no, so now I mean let's just ride it until the end. I mean I'm not really that guy because if it was like at $150 right now, I would trim more. I mean it would
Yeah,
be a 15 bagger to me. My average cost is $10, and I even averaged up. So I mean, it's my like best winner ever. So I could even sell everything right now, and no one could even say anything to me because it would be like my crazy good winner. And just in profits on IMS alone, I have twice the value of my portfolio 1 year ago.
yeah, yeah.
So I mean, it's
No,
already insane.
I mean, with this drop, guys, you will be shocked to know that with this drop, HIMS is now unfortunately only up 111% year to date. It's very sad,
Exactly.
but that's where we're
I
at.
was I was I made a post like before this episode saying, guys, it's still up 500% over the last year.
Hmm.
Like it's just, and the Bears are like cheering all across X because in these days you can clearly see why the short interest is so high. Hims has so many haters, man. Yeah, we kind of have a cult as well, but I mean, it's
You're gonna
really
get
polarized. Whether you're like very bullish or you're just a fucking hater, man. There are so many people like celebrating this drop just because they didn't catch the stock like at a lower price, or they're just like skeptical. I mean you can be skeptical and not cheer for someone's losses, I would say. And guys that went short at $20 per share celebrating like they're like some kind of kings with a crystal ball. Man, you're down like 200% in your short position. Why
yeah.
the hell are you talking about? Like it's just, for me it's just like crazy. These guys have no shame.
I mean, you're gonna get the whole range of different people in the market, right? Like you're gonna get the long term people who like don't care about
I
this.
mean,
You're gonna get
it's
people who
okay to be a bear, but don't celebrate if you shorted it at $20 per share, man. I mean, they're down like crazy, and it's like, oh, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of the huge fallout. I mean, hymns will die. Yeah, yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see about it. It's just crazy. Like the hate. Like, I mean, it's okay for them to short it and to profit from the downtrend. I mean, if we get a downtrend, because we're clearly in an uptrend. But I
yeah.
mean, be like honest. Like just say, "Oh yeah, nice. It's falling. It's finally dropping." But I'm still really burned by this fucking rally. I mean, it's really the lack of honesty makes me crazy.
Yeah, I mean everybody's burned by the rally unless they're short, in which case they love this. But they've
Exactly.
been burned all year long if you're in that other camp. And again, like I said before, I think a lot of these events across the board, not just for HIMS, like they are short lived. Um, we might get selling into the end of the trading session today. We might get a little bit of a recovery into the end of. Wait, somebody called me out on X. I did not see that. Um,
I mean, it was you were talking about the comment, right?
yeah. I
Yeah, I was. That was the kind of the person I was referring to.
let me see.
Oh no, he called out you.
Yeah, I don't know. Was this today or
Ah no, I think I saw it like 2 days ago or
yeah, probably on the Morgan Stanley note, I
yeah,
think.
Morgan Stanley.
It's okay. I haven't read it's like a long post. I'm not gonna read it here. But
No, no, yeah, I've read it. I mean, it just yeah.
I think
Let's not talk about this guy.
I think again the
He's the
market
guy that went short at $20 and he's celebrating like he's rich.
um
He literally. But it's okay. Let's not give him like any
yeah,
space here.
here's the thing. I find the timing to be really interesting. It's 2 days before the earnings. And like, I know we don't want to, maybe we can save the conspiracy theories for like the last 5 minutes, but man, kind of crazy um, that right before the earnings, this came out. And also kind of crazy that like, I don't think HIM's management was expecting this, or maybe they were for like, they
That's
launched that
actually a good
acquisition.
question. Like, were they like, do they have like anyone that keeps them aware of things like first
Well,
than the general markets?
the thing
Let's
that
say.
pushes me into the direction of saying management was not aware is like, dude, why would management release a Super Bowl ad 12 days that focused on weight loss if they knew that the shortage was ending in 12 days?
I mean, to like push as many customers as they can before the shortage ends.
But dude,
Because I
like what?
mean, yeah,
Within like
12
90
days, but
days?
you still have 90 days, so 100 days is still a lot, man. I mean,
I
no
know,
one
but
in 100 days, no one will be like joining hymns because of the Super Bowl ad.
so yes, I agree, but they could have had that ad focus on oral solutions. They could have had that ad focus on any like
Yeah,
other
but
ad
the ad
business.
itself wasn't focused on GLP-1s, was focused on weight loss.
Yeah, no, I agree. They showed off the pill. They also showed off the injection.
Exactly.
Um,
They couldn't even, according to like the people that were like saying that hymns could get sued, they couldn't even talk about just the GLP-1 without then saying the side effects and everything else, which would be a waste of Super Bowl ad time.
yeah.
So pushing towards like the general category, I think was kind of a good option.
hmm Yeah, I mean, look, I'm putting together the pieces. I think I've been in the market for long enough to say, okay, well, you have over 30% short interest, and then all of these people are getting squeezed out. And then you have a history of this being a very, very news sensitive stock that it moves up and down 20% like nobody's business. And the last time this happened was like a Bank of America bearish note and Amazon news put together on the same day. So, we're going
And
into
we're
earnings.
probably now going to have several analysts downgrading hymns.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Now I just saw like an investment firm talking about this, but it was 1 hour ago and no one talked about it. But it's called Leerink.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have all of them coming. Well, especially because like earnings is on Monday too, so they have another reason to come out with their short report or their analyst note, whatever. Um, you know,
Yeah,
I
they
think
say they see a potential reset in the stock after it had been clearly driven up by the excitement over the broader weight loss opportunity. Blah blah blah. So yeah, that will be the tone of everyone probably.
Yeah.
Maybe Morgan Stanley was in the reports they issued, was actually the firm that I think understands better HIMS,
And
because
they have a
they
$60 price target, don't they?
have a $60, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the initial price target was, before this run up, was like $42 when they initiated coverage, and they were like, yeah, GLP-1s are important, but the company is much more than this. The core business is strong long term, and now that they set $60, they downgraded to equal weight, I guess. And I mean, but it makes perfect sense. I mean, after this huge run up, I don't blame them for setting a $60 price target. So, and
Yeah.
the note itself was pretty like what we are saying, like long term the business will be fine, it just needs to breathe a bit, and like to erase this drama about GLP-1s and everything else.
Yeah, I see this. Is this today? I saw
What?
this post, but I'm not sure if this is today. Truist. Yeah, it is today. Hims and Hers Q4 revenue is likely to be as high as 50 million above consensus estimates, which is great. The note said Q4 revenue will likely represent a 20 to 50 million beat relative to guidance. The solid beat and raise may keep the company's new investor base interested, but shares at these valuations seem very disconnected from fundamentals. The investment firm also said that the main focus of investors will be on the company's 2025 guidance. Are they watching our show? Where the bar is clearly very high. Truist said its views on the company 2025 guidance range to be disclosed next week are still below the bullish view supporting current valuations. Its
20.
views on the guidance range. So, like, they know already what the guidance is, like what Truist is going to give them before earnings.
No, I mean probably the what they expect it to be.
Truist said its views on the company's 2025 guidance range to be disclosed next week are still below the bullish view supporting current valuations. Truist analysts also
So they
said
say that what they expect the company to guide is not enough to sustain these prices.
yeah. They also said they believe HIMS should get the benefit of the doubt given historically conservative approach to guidance and a view that the company could continue to post beat and raise quarters as the year progresses.
Yeah,
So I don't
there's
know.
no price target there. No.
Yeah, there's nothing here. It was
Let
just
me
a
see what
note.
was the price target.
But yeah, it's going to be one of many analysts coming out over the next week. It's going to be an interesting week, man, next week. I feel like I have to do another HIMS video today.
I think their price target was way below.
What's
Okay.
HIMS call for next week? I'm not sure what that's referring to. The earnings call is probably going to be at 5 p.m. Eastern. The results are going to come out after the market close on Monday. We're going to be covering them live on this channel. Whether it's bullish or not, I mean, that's up to you.
From today as well, Deutsche Bank, but this was actually before GLP-1 news. But Deutsche Bank increased the price target from 27 to 33, but maintained the old rating. But this was before the GLP-1 news.
What, they had a hold, or what did they have?
They had the hold and maintained the hold, but
Yeah.
increased the price target like $6.
That makes sense. They don't look stupid because the stock is literally their price.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think all analysts are gonna have, like, Bank of America is gonna look the stupidest out there with a $21 price target.
Yeah, especially after like the bear case was the semaglutide shortage coming to an end, and even after that, we're like very far away from getting to $21.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Okay, lots and lots of stuff here. I'm sure we're gonna get news throughout the day. I would not be surprised if HIM's management comes out and says something. Oh, here we go. Breaking news.
What happened?
So let's throw
lines
this.
for
Yeah.
a statement.
All right, let's read this together. So this is HIM's house that's posting this. Let me repost this and let me say HIM's. And let's read this together. Okay, let's take a look. So the statement of Alliance for Pharmacy Compounding CEO Scott Brunner on resolution of semaglutide injection shortage. As of this morning, the FDA shortage list indicates the semaglutide shortage is resolved. Compounding pharmacists have long known that this shortage had a shelf life for 3 years. That's how long this wonder drug has been in shortage. Is he writing like a short story? This is very
Yeah,
colorful.
like it started with look.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I was laughing.
They've been compounding copies of semaglutide injection for patients at a time when Novo could not meet the extraordinary demand. They've also been serving patients who'd otherwise have no access to this medication, but they've also known that eventually the shortage would be resolved, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we can argue whether this resolution of the shortage is premature or not. Indeed, the much more real word ASHP shortage list continues. What's ASHP?
Let me see
Alliance
the
or
sentence.
no?
No. What's the
Continues
sentence?
to show both semaglutide and tirzepatide injection in shortage. And I do question whether in resolving the shortage, the FDA has taken into account demand for the compounding drug, the number of patients. Here we go. The number of patients who will need to be transitioned from compound version to FDA approved version. That's likely hundreds of thousands of patients. What FDA did right this time, something that it did not do with its abrupt October 2nd of resolution of the tirzepatide shortage, was that the agency is providing an off ramp, so the 60 days and 90 days respectively for HIMSS, that they can avoid an interruption of therapy of many patients. We're grateful, blah, blah, blah. All we can do now is watch. This is nothing, bro.
Yeah.
Where's the lawsuit, baby? I'm waiting to hear some good news. So he basically is summarizing the news for us here. Yeah, absolutely nothing major there. But I do agree. I think the off ramp time is going to be positive for the business.
Maybe they like the compounders ask for like 30 days more or something like that. Like
Yeah.
I'm not seeing them suing the FDA like they did when they resolved tirzepatide's shortage.
Well, even if they say,
But
"Hey, look, we're not going to be able to meet all of this demand in 3 months. Give us 6 months." I would
yeah,
imagine
exactly.
Novo and Eli Lilly are probably like really green on this news. Yeah, Eli Lilly is up 2%. Um,
No, Novo Nordisk was up like 5 or
Novo
6.
Novo is up 6% on this
Yeah,
news.
exactly. And
Because it
6%
makes
for
sense,
them
right?
is like
Yeah,
what?
yeah, they're a $400 billion company.
Yeah, so it's like 2 hymns. Up 2 hymns today.
Yes, exactly. Um, no, up 4 hymns. Yeah, 2 hymns. Crazy, crazy, crazy time to be alive. Okay, cool. Shall we wrap there?
Yeah.
It's been a longer episode, an hour and 20 minutes. Again, I do expect more news to come out uh, today on this decision, whether there is going to be a response to the FDA decision or whether there's going to be delay. Like I said before, if you look at what's good for the stock, that's what's good for the stock. Is if this is delayed, prolonged, contested, pushed out, all of that is going to be positive for the stock. And I think that the management coming out and also providing some clarity around what the response is going to be is also good for the stock. Actually, if you guys who are watching want to do me a favor, I made a post. I tweeted at Andrew and the HIMS team, and I said, "Look, if you guys want to drop some news or want to drop some more clarity, now would be the time to do so." So as you're leaving the stream, go to that post, repost it, and let's get attention so that we can have some more clarity from management on like how they want to address the market with this news. Maybe if it doesn't happen today, it's going to happen on Monday. I mean, it has to happen on Monday because analysts are going to flat out ask them. But thank you, everybody, so much for watching. And make sure to join us on Monday after the market close on this channel, where we're going to be talking about the earnings and covering all of him's numbers. I'm still very, very bullish on the bull case, and have a great weekend.
See you guys.